Hello, everybody. It's a Barbenheimer summer. Today, we're talking about a review of the recent smash hit Barbie. We're talking about the review. Greta Gerwig film celebrates female empowerment but falls short on biblical values. In the Christian Post by Leah MarieAnn Klett, and it was published on August 3rd, 2023. This was the first review I've ever read in a Christian publication. And I was expecting going in that they were just going to rip this movie to shreds. But I thought most more or less that the reviewer gave it a fair shake. They had some good things to say about Barbie. But my big issue with this is this claim that it falls short of biblical morality, and some of the criticisms she levels I'm not sure who it's a he or a she, that the article writer levels against the Barbie movie and its biblical anti-biblical message. Rob, what were some of the issues you had with this review?
Yeah, so like you, I'm proud to say this is the first time I've ever read a movie with a Christian review. I've never decided to seek one of those out, nor if anyone sent me one did I ever read it. But I wasn't surprised at what the review was concerned with. Yeah, it could have been worse, but I just jotted down some notes about things that I found interesting that he said. The reviewer said that there were, quote, several uses of the Lord's name in vain. Oh, God damn it, Jesus H. Christ. I noticed that Harry Neff, who was in the film, was described as a man who identifies as trans, as opposed to Harry Neff, a trans woman.
Rude.
Little dig there.
That's rude.
The film contrasted the biblical. He said the film contrasts the biblical idea that all are created equal, and then he links to Genesis 1:26. There's actually a link there, so I opened it up. Well, this is Genesis 1:26. Let us make mankind in our own image and our own likeness, so they may rule over the fish of the sea and the birds of the sky and the livestock, yada, yada, yada. There's nothing about gender equality there. Just going to prove that Christians don't actually read the Bible ever. So what do you think, Helen?
So I saw this movie. It is a bomb, and the soundtrack slaps. So I recommend, if you have not seen this film, it's very fun.
Oh, a bomb is good. I'm not in that mode.
Yes, the bomb. Okay. Yeah, the bomb is good. But I'm not talking Oppenheimer. I'm talking about like, this is the bomb. You're gonna make you super happy. I had a lot of feelings. I cried, but I wear my emotions on my sleeve, so I cry over everything. And what really struck me about this review is that I keep wondering, are the straights okay? Like is the straights like really, really okay? Because I have a lot of concern. Because what I took away from this movie, yes, the message of the film about feminism is like hammered down. Like there's no subtlety. But on the flip side of that, I think that's a really good message to send to teenage women and people that identify as a woman as a teenager, because they can understand how this exists as part of society, about the patriarchy and how things work. And also understand that they do have a choice on what type of person they're going to be. And it's hammered into the film in the context, but I got it. I was like, yeah, because I understand, how sexism and patriarchy works in society, but to the 14, 15-year-old girl that's sitting in the theater, she just thinks she's watching a movie, and that is carried over. And then this mofo is complaining that we're using the Lord's name in vain. All right. Well, I'm going to say fuck God, by the way. So that he kind of missed the point of the film. And I'm like, well, you missed the point. This is a secular film. They weren't even preaching. I didn't see any hint of religion at all in this film. There was no churches. There was no Bibles. There was nothing. It was the message that Greta Gerwig wanted to bring home was effective in this movie. And this guy's all butthurt because, we're not upholding Christian values. It's like, but this this movie isn't made to uphold Christian values. I'm like, go watch God's Not Dead if you want that. Anyway, Jimmy, what was your opinion on this article?
Yeah, I think that is a really good point you made. It wasn't made for this purpose of upholding these values. In fact, I think the Christian values are in stark contrast to what the movie was all about, right? Feminism, female empowerment, all good things. The Bible does not give us that. And we have just yet another example of a Christian misquoting the Bible and writing this review. The second thing that I wanted to say is that I think it's awfully convenient that this author or this, I'll just call her author, Klett, references Genesis 1:26 instead of Genesis 2:21, which kind of makes the woman incredibly inferior to the man. And actually, we can get into this a little later, kind of off topic, but interesting fun fact, Genesis chapter 2 was actually written before chapter 1 and they were switched. And there's a whole study about how that happened. If you look at kind of the style of writing and the way that people understood the world, et cetera, et cetera. But I digress. She carefully selected a quote that she could kind of use to manipulate to support her point. And for what it's worth, I think the author of this article was actually a lot softer than I expected for somebody who was going to write an anti, feminist or a pro-Christian message. Quoting specifically, ultimately, Barbie has plenty of positive and even redemptive moments that can serve as a catalyst for conversations about identity, worth, and even gender roles. The problem with that quote, of course, if I read that separate from the rest of the article, I would say what a great quote. However, I know that she's using it for other purposes than my own or than somebody who really believed in equality and gender roles would use them for. So having not seen the movie, I can only agree in theory that the message of female empowerment was a good one. And, no Christian should be surprised that Christian messaging was not included in it. It would defeat the purpose of trying to empower young girls and people who are trying to be comfortable with the identity that they identify with. So, Aaron, how do you feel about all that? You want to
growing up Christian and being Christian most of my life? A frequent phrase that was uttered at church every week was "Be in the world, but not of the world." And I think the intent of the review is to help people that are reading it, Christians that are reading it, to know, is this an okay movie for me to go see, or is it going to lead me more towards being in the world instead of or of the world instead of in the world? And I think their analysis of the anti-biblical stances the movie takes, it's just they're warning the potential viewers that, this might be a dangerous movie for you to go see. It might put ideas in your head, and it might make you more of the world instead of away from the world. And it's an interesting, one of the more interesting parts about the movie is I think she's kind of right on one level, that they say though Barbie tries to empower and uplift women, it often does so at the expense of men. And I think she's right. I think they're right. Mm-hmm. Because I think that's very much on purpose. Because as I was sitting there in the movie, I was having an experience as a man seeing a movie where every single man was helpless, hapless, insecure, dumb, doing stupid things. No character was defined by other people. And it wasn't until after the movie where I thought, I realized, oh, wait a second. That's the experience women have going to see most movies and TV shows and media that are being consumed. This is an interesting feeling that I'm feeling. Maybe I should try being a little more empathetic and seek out media that is a little more empowering to everybody and not just men.
Aaron, can you beach though? Can you beach?
I cannot beach.
You can't beach.
I cannot beach.
What is beach? What are we talking about?
I don't even know what you guys are talking
about.
That's that's one of Ken's career choices. And
no spoilers. And
one of my big beefs with the review is that it seems to just assume that the Bible is just this paragon of gender equality,
Absolutely.
and it is not. Rob, what do you have to say about that?
Yeah. I was actually going to talk a little bit about that if I had some time. So I'm glad you threw it to me. It says that the film stresses, this is the reviewer, the film stresses that women must take control and dominate others to earn respect, contrasting with the biblical notion of mutual respect between men and women. I don't know where that is in the Bible. Again, I don't think Christians read the Bible.
Aren't I supposed to be silent in church?
Please show me
right.
Yeah, you're
I
not
can't
supposed to
believe-
teach anybody.
Also,
I'm sorry, everybody. I'm talking. I apologize.
Cut her feed. Cut her feed.
the last thing that I wrote down was the film critic claims that the film places a strong focus on the idea of self-reliance and individualistic pursuit of happiness, in contrast to the prioritization of community and family values in the Bible. What? So that would seem to be like the film is actually in line with MAGA and libertarian values to me. Not worrying about the community. I refuse to get vaccinated and help stop the spread of COVID through my community because of freedom. So I didn't get that part at all.
One of the things that, like, when I watched this movie, it was one of those, because I did recognize the fact that the men were kind of a side piece, like a trophy husband, an afterthought. And they've actually changed it in the marketing where Ken was actually Barbie's friend than her boyfriend, to make it more like, because that would explain it more why he's not such an active role in her life. And I think that in the mythology of Barbie, that works. But the whole idea is that, they didn't have choice. They don't have choice of career. They don't, they're a side piece. And even like, and I don't want to live in that world. Like, listen, I want more equality, for women and people that identify as women, but I want equality, not only for that, but I want equality for everybody. And he has this concern where men were treated as second-class citizens. And it's like, yeah, that's the point. And also, Ryan Gosling's character falls into this patriarchy, ideas, which is something that we have to take a mirror to and go, is this healthy for men? No, it's not. It's not healthy. And that was the whole point, because Greta Gerwig was like, let's talk about the problem, the good stuff and the bad stuff when it comes to feminism, and how patriarchy also infects feminism and why we need to have these conversations. And if you don't have that nuance on, you're going to miss it. And also too, I want to point out that Hari Neff is a trans woman that was just a Barbie. Nobody pointed out she was trans. She was just there. She was one of the Barbies and nobody cared, which is what we want, is that, doesn't matter. You're part of the community. So I thought that was also really good for representation, in that we just accept people for who they are, which was another message of the film. So I thought that was really, really important, because as a feminist, I already know a lot of this stuff, but the thing I took away is like, young people need to hear this. And like, Aaron, I really appreciate that you're like, oh, this is the mess. Okay, now I get it. Because there's some men that haven't gotten it. So
I know it happens.
So people told me
it happens. People know, people told me that it happens and what their experiences are, but it's something to hear people have their experience and then to experience it yourself. And you're just like, oh.
So you had the opposite reaction, Aaron, that Bill Maher had. I don't know if you saw. I texted this in the chat group. But Bill Maher basically said there was no point in making this movie because it's a hashtag zombie lie, and that's defined as something that never actually happened or did happen but is not true yet. So he's basically saying this is such an old tripe. Why are we still talking about this?
Well, like I said when we talked about this, is that he's turned into your weird uncle that thinks everything is woke and that he just wants a woman to make him a sandwich. And that's what he's turned into. Anyway, Jim, did you have any other opinions on this?
Yeah, I think I had some that I didn't really have originally. So I'm a little maybe embarrassed, but I completely missed some of the points that you guys brought up. Like that was the point of the movie. Well, I didn't see the movie either, so I guess I get a pass.
You
but
need to.
I'm
gonna make
yeah,
you.
yeah. Well, so my daughter tells me. But I think that was that's a really good point. Like, to Rob's point, showing like, yeah, this is kind of what women go through. And Aaron made a similar point, and so expanding a little bit on what you just mentioned about those quotes from Bill Maher, I don't think that this is over. I don't think that this is a thing of the past at all. I think I see a lot. I think as somebody who's in the military, I'm in a male dominated industry, and I think that it's gotten better over time, but I came into a military that was very more like traditional, and I've heard people say things about, oh, I shouldn't have to, listen to a woman. And I always felt really uncomfortable about that. I came into a military that was, don't ask, don't tell. And now I have, transgender, troops that work in my office. And so I just feel really lucky. But I'm so happy to see that these conversations are having an impact, and that, maybe this movie will have an impact. And when we talk about gender roles, I think it's really important for boys and men to understand that they don't actually have to be part of the patriarchy. Like, you need to be able to do some of these more, these actions that are associated a lot with feminine qualities, like, it's okay to cry. It's okay to talk to somebody. It's okay, to kind of step back and let a woman lead you, and those are also important messages, have a lot of value, that I really didn't think of, kind of coming into doing this taping tonight. But I think I'm leaving with, and of course I didn't need to have this conversation to believe that. But I think our conversation just kind of made me want to reiterate those points. So
Yeah, it's a crazy good
that's all I
movie.
got there.
It works on multiple levels. You think it's just about feminism and the patriarchy, but there's a whole other level you can dig down to it. And when you look at it, it's a Barbie movie about a toy, but it has nothing to do with Barbie as a toy. Like, you look at the Transformers movies, those are movies about Transformers and action and what the Transformers are all about. This is not.
It is a Michael Bay movie, Aaron.
But this is a movie that's about Barbie, but it's not about Barbie. And it's been a crazy hit. This movie is reaching and touching people, and it's made over $1 billion, almost $1.2 billion. It's the first solo female directed movie to earn over $1 billion. And one of the issues I have in the review is the reviewer calls the movie polarizing. And I just have to flat out disagree. This is not a polarizing movie. It's just on the quality of being a movie. It's got 88% on Rotten Tomatoes, 83% fan score. That is not a polarizing movie.
Damn.
This reviewer may want it to be polarizing. They may want to say that it's polarizing to drive clicks, but it's being overwhelmingly positively received. It has an amazing message. We're here to talk mostly about the review and the Christian message that people, how Christianities view it. But I almost wish we could have a segment where we talked about the Barbie movie and the different levels it's at, and the different message that it's saying, because it's not a piece of fluff. It's smartly written. It's well produced. It's well acted. It's just got a lot going for it.
I was not sure I was going to see this movie because I was waiting for the mashup. I've seen YouTube videos with Barbenheimer, and so you don't have to see Oppenheimer and Barbie. You can just see one movie with the both. I'm sure you've seen those. So, but maybe I'll just go see Barbie because it sounds like it's a good movie.
It's not going to be such a bummer. I promise.
I hope I'm not overhyping it, but I enjoyed it.
Well,
your review was better than the article we're discussing for sure.
Well, and I do appreciate she did in the article, pointed out the really positive messages. But again, why are you tying this to religion? This is not a religious message at all. Like, if you want to watch religious movies, go to your religious movies. Because
if you have a hammer, everything is a nail, and that's
and that's the kind of thing. Yeah, but that's the metaphor we're using, because millions of girls played with Barbies growing up, and they were from all different sort of backgrounds, and that's the message of the film. that you can be from a different background and you can still find empowerment and know yourself. But it shouldn't be at the expense of other people, you know, and that's the real message of it. And also too, I am Kenough. I'm Ken enough. I am. I'm okay. Like Aaron knows my reference.
Yes.
You two that are not on this panel
No, don't know what you're
will
talking
not
about.
know my reference. But if you want to check out more what's going on with the nonprofits and maybe more Barbie reviews or other silly things we talk about, please click above you and do the things.